every Monday. We just want to say to Dominicans, good evening. We have had, quite a lot of good things happening in Dominica, notwithstanding among the fires that took place. We had our jazz festival, which I think was, very, very, very successful. I think some people take pride in it to come out and to showcase their attire, and sometimes they almost just like the film doc, they always come out, blazing, and we want to commend the many Dominicans who actually participate. It's good for us, it is good for the economy, and it's good as a people that we can commemorate, we can celebrate, and we can come in one space to send a message that we are united. So to everyone who is listening, who is locked in, we want to say good night to you. Welcome to Real Talk. With us tonight is our political leader, Honorable Dr. Thomson Fontaine. And Doc, like anything else, it's a long time, Doc. I know we have seen a slate of fires happening in the city, and so many things have been happening. What is your take on what is happening, Doc? And just give us a little of what you believe is happening on the ground, because we have been on the ground.
Yes, so well, good night to you, and of course to our many listeners who are with us. Tonight it's indeed an honor to be back on Real Talk after a short break. Let me just say that it's some very disturbing things with respect to the fires, and also we learned as well there was a homicide last night in Portsmouth, and that has to concern everybody. The level of violence that we're seeing, the fact that our young people have been so displaced in the sense that they have not been able to find their footing, they've not been able to find their way in this country, and that is extremely worrisome. That our young people are having so many struggles, especially the young men. Because the jobs are not available, the work is not there, and just the problems that we're having, and these types of incidences where we have this violence and so on. Some of them is linked to the drug trade and what people are doing. And it is very, very, very unfortunate. And of course, we extend condolences to the family of the young man who lost his life. Every life is precious. Every life is worth living. And when we lose a young person, whether he is Dominican or not, but it happened in Dominica, it really says a lot. And so, we are very sorry for that. And also to the homeowners, the business owners who lost their buildings, whether fully or totally or partially damaged. We extend our support as well. The fact that the second set of fires were considered to be arson, one has to wonder whether or not the first set is also as a result of arson. And I think that is where the authorities have to do their investigations and ensure that persons who are responsible are in fact brought to justice. We cannot have a country of lawlessness where people, do those things and so on, and tremendous cost and pain. When you think of the businesses that have been lost, the livelihoods that have been compromised as a result, it's a huge cost to pay. And so we are hoping that whoever is responsible, in fact, brought to justice, after all. And the same thing goes for the whoever it was that the individuals who burned the trucks at Wesley. I happened to pass there on Saturday and actually yesterday.
Wow.
Sunday, and saw the burnt out trucks, well, not totally burnt out, but at least the severe damage. They're out of commission, and I don't think that's the way that as a country we should be trying to solve our issues. Obviously, there are real problems with a situation where you have a country and you have a major project as we have in Wesley, the building of an international airport, and it does not seem that is reaching down. The people not getting the kind of benefits because the overwhelming majority of the workers are foreigners. We have very few Dominican workers. The village of Wesley that should have had a significant economic boon, that is not there because of the way the whole thing is set up. The workers from overseas, they have their own quarters, they bring in their own food. They bring in their own rice, they bring in their own sardines, you know, and so on. They don't buy from the local shops. So you have that situation there, which is very, very, again, concerning to us, because we have been very clear that as a government, we will ensure that the locals, they have first right to any kind of contract, any kind of major project like an international airport, that the locals should have a shot at it. And in the absence of local talent, then you reach out. But at the end of the day, as long as it's been paid for by the government, the focus must be on creating opportunities for our people, because that is monies, 3.2 billion that has been leaked out of the economy. It's not making the rounds, it's not circulating, so it's not helping as much as it should, and that is very concerning, especially when you see we're in a situation in this country where you have so much, suffering and poverty is on the rise, and you have individuals who are really not there as yet, in terms of the state of the economy. Now we're compounded with the high prices. Gasoline prices are off the roof. Domlec is increasing their pricing, so the cost of living is biting in this economy. And when you have that and you're not getting the necessary incomes on the other side to balance up, that creates a huge problem. So that's some of the concerns that we have, as we work our way through. Of course, we'll talk later, I'm sure, towards the end about the confirmation process and how that is going along or not going along. And but otherwise, it's good to be back on Real Talk and just keeping it real to the people of Dominica, because we believe, after all, that the United Workers' Party is best placed to form the next government. And so that's what our planning and our strategizing is all about, how we form the next government and how we move this country from where it is to a better place.
Yes, and even before we took that long break, I know you on the ground with the team with respect to the post, rainfall that we had over the time there. And I saw the United Workers' Party, and the world saw that, in spite of our position, we are not in government, but we've made a concerted effort to reach out and to make a donation, which is good. And a number of persons have, appreciated it. I know, to be honest, I know a person like you under your leadership is not something that you like to show, but that's how it is when, you have camera people around and Facebook and social media. So I want to congratulate the United Workers' Party under your leadership in reaching out to those in need and to making that donation to the Kalinago Council. And of course, as you rightly said, I don't think in no way, shape, or form that we are condoning what has happened. If at all, arson is to be blamed for the fires, both in Roseau and with the truck. We do not condone that kind of behavior. It's not good enough. But something struck me, though, that was said by the parliamentary representative for Roseau Central, Melissa Popon-Skerrit. And it appears that Melissa must get herself, sort of acquainted with processes and to know what is happening with respect to how persons get approved with their electrical installation. And she claimed that after the hurricane, it appears that a number of individuals may have done their own electrical work, putting the electrical inspectorate under some kind of review and under some kind of attack. And that is not very true, because what happens is that persons will ask to get qualified technicians or electrical persons to redo their wiring for them before they can be approved for reconnection by Domlec. And what we have seen is that a number of persons, they went through it. They had persons redo their wiring, and then the electrical inspectorate, they came in and they approved the wiring by doing the necessary testing. And from approving, they make recommendation to Domlec for persons to be sort of reinstated with their electricity. So this is the process, Melissa Skerrit, if you do not know. Melissa Popon-Skerrit, the electrical inspectorate, is the body authorized to actually approve electrical work in every house that got sort of reconnected. And if PAL reps were involved, you must tell us straight, if PAL reps were involved in approving when Dominica was hesitant to approve for some person, and you all get involved as PAL reps to push Dominica to do so. Now you throw Dominica under the bus. Unfortunately, you may have helped a constituent or constituents, that is good, but you may have made shortcuts too. So is that you're talking about? Too bad for you all. After you all got the help, which Dominic may have facilitated you all, you're selling them out, and that's very bad. So I just wanted to make sure, Doc, that is on record. I'm seeing the photos there, Doc. Something you wanted to show, but since I spoke about it, you can see what is happening there, and you've seen you and the other members of the party in action. What was happening there? Just tell us, give us an idea what was taking place there.
Yes, absolutely. So we had this very extreme rain event a few weeks ago that created significant damage, and at last count, it triggered some 55 landslides. A count was made, and 55 landslides, mainly in the Kalinago-Casibro stretch, and that created quite a lot of hardship. Some 16 families were displaced. Some lost their homes totally. Others had mud and water and debris come into their homes. So, we made an appeal to the general public in Dominica, and we were able to make a significant contribution to the Atkinson Village Council and to the Kalinago Council. So I just wanted to extend our sincere thanks, to the many Dominicans who provided that support, that we were able to reach out and in a very compassionate way deliver canned goods, milk, water, blankets and clothing and other things, to the people of the Kalinago territory who are greatly in need. But my concern though, Soso, is that we are approaching the rainy season.
Yes.
And even when I went for the Kalinago territory again yesterday, I revisited there yesterday, to see the land has moved. The land is extremely unsettled. It is very much unsettled. So you can see that some sliding and slipping is still taking place in some areas.
That's right.
I worry very much that with the rainy season about to come on us next month, that the beginning of the rainy season, the beginning of the hurricane season, that we'll be in for some more problems in that area. So I hope that the authorities are providing the proper guidance and direction to villagers as to where they should be or should not be. Certain areas must be ruled out of bounds for persons to live, because we don't want anybody losing their lives. But it is clear, it just looking at it, that this area is extremely unsettled, and we run the risk that we could have some more land slippages and some more problems when the rainy season starts. So that is something obviously we have to be on the lookout for, but otherwise, the our party stayed on top of things. We believe that we have to be proactive and we have to reach out to persons when they're in need. And that's exactly what we've been able to do successfully.
Yes, thanks. And we want to thank the many contributors to this effort. And we know at by and large, it is Dominicans who have benefited from this action. So collectively as a nation, we are together when we are in crisis. And we want to thank all those who have actually, donated to this worthy cause. And thanks, Doc, for, just leading this effort. But more importantly, thanks to those who have donated. Doc, last week we had a very interesting program here on the Workers' Voice on Thursday. And we had Honorable Peter Carbon, former Minister of Agriculture on the United Workers' Party government. And we had also Mr. Errol Emmanuel, former Production Services Manager of the Dominica Banana Producers Limited. And interestingly, they spoke about agriculture. But the thing about all what has been said, it is good that, we know what we can do. We have and by the way, let me put it on record that the United Workers' Party has the expertise at its disposal to ensure that when we become the government that we can deliver. We have the necessary trained personnel to do so. And so you had Mr. Carbon and Mr. Emmanuel actually, bringing out some of the areas of concerns where we could strengthen and to have Dominica sort of revamp with respect to producing, selling, and bringing in much foreign money into Dominica. But all that goes to tell you that it was directing at exporting what we have, trying to, whether it's light manufacturing or, value-added crops, or whether it's agriculture, whatever it is. but to ensure that at the end of the exercise, that we can be in a lucrative sector as the banana industry, banana sector, sorry, and the agricultural sector, and to make sure that we could ship out all of the produce of Dominica and ship out as much as possible of the byproduct of Dominica. So it boils back to trying to export more than we import. And that's a good challenge. In terms of economics, I want you, because that's part of our 10 pillars. Agriculture is one of the 10 pillars, is part of the 10 pillar plan. And I know that you have been concerned about the high level of imports that we are having. And so when you look at the balance of trade with respect to imports versus exports, you know for sure we import more than we export. And so I know that it's dear to your heart. And just as we maintain and stay on this pillar plan for Dominica, which is the hope for Dominica, can you dear bring us forward and to let us understand better what it would mean to us to be selling our agricultural products outside and to bringing in much needed foreign direct foreign exchange?
Yes, indeed. So you know, our focus as a party, as we plan forward, because that's what we're doing. We are not waiting to get into office to then decide what to do. We have been having meetings, we have been having consultations. And last week, what you did, for example, with Mr. Peter Carbon and Errol, I want to say a big thank you to them for that, is that we are tapping into the expertise that is there and readily available to us so that we can begin to plan ahead. And one of the things that we have really committed to as a government in waiting is to make sure that agriculture once again gets a place of prominence in Dominica. It has to. I mean, the land is, the fertile land is still there. The water is still there. It still rains. I mean, we had a rainy season. We had a dry season from December to May, and it rained. Even in the dry areas, it was raining practically every day, which tells me that you could even do rain-fed agriculture. But obviously, we'll be moving beyond that to make sure we have the irrigation set up just in case. But I'm saying this to say that agriculture has a place in the future of this country. And that is what we are focused on. That is what we have been talking about. And it is something that I believe that the Dominican people are actually warming up to. Because as we go through the villages, you know that we have been involved in exporting dashing. For now, it's just dashing, United Workers' Party. In particular, Bernie Ryan, our vice president, has been very much spearheading that effort with some support from the party. And what we have been able to do is to go around the country and see just the desire for that kind of thing. So we are talking to people that are saying, well, now we can plant because we've been doing this now for the past 8 months. I think we've just passed our 8-month mark, where every single week we've been purchasing dashing for the markets, for the Guadeloupe market.
Very much so.
We have been a bit hesitant to expand it, because I can tell you, even now, our demand far exceeds what is being supplied to us.
Wow.
Every week we have a shortfall. We are not able to meet just the demand for the Guadeloupe market. So we're not about to go into Martinique, which we had intended to do, but for now we are holding back because we need the farmers to get up to speed. The problem is that a number of farmers had abandoned their plots. Even when they produced, their food would stay and spoil on the fields, and so they were discouraged. We have a number of discouraged farmers who were saying, well, for many years there was no market. We could not get the results that we wanted, so a lot of them abandoned it. Even in my own area, a number of our farmers have gone on to do security work. They're no longer engaged in the field, and when you can get the kind of money and the kind of benefit out of agriculture. So our role as a government in waiting is to begin to show the Dominican public that there is hope still with agriculture, because we believe that agriculture will lead the way into prosperity for our people. And why I'm so keen on this is because, like I've always said in the past, some 70% of the Dominican population reside in rural areas. So that provides an opportunity for persons to actually go into agriculture we have a very tiny number of persons who are working professional jobs in Dominica. You probably have 3,500 government workers, and you probably have another 1,000 in all the other, So it's not a lot of people that are working formally in this country, and so we absolutely have to provide opportunities for our people, especially those in the rural areas, and agriculture is in fact the way forward. And so we're extremely excited about the prospects because we already have in mind a kind of agriculture that is smarter, a kind of agriculture that will take on board the limitations that we have. We do not have the vast expanses of land, flat land. We are constrained, and that's the reason why ours must be a high valued product. Okay, because we cannot compete necessarily on low pricing because there's a certain price, a certain cutoff that will not do it because we don't have the kind of volume. All right. So, for example, if we're into bananas, we cannot compete with the Latin American countries that have areas 10, 15 times the size of Dominica just for agriculture. So we have to be mindful of that. And so it is one where we are going to be ensuring that we add value. But as a government, what we will ensure is that markets are provided. We will actually do the negotiations to ensure that market access is made available to the Dominican public. And not only that, but the access to that market. Somebody reminded me on Saturday as we were talking to some of the dashing farmers that the market always there. Is the access that has been the issue. People are always eating dashing, they're always eating food, they're always eating plantains, these very good products that we produce in Dominica is being consumed, but is the access to it. So we will ensure access, one. We will ensure that we have a redoing of the feeder roads, areas like Cahome, for example, that once led the way in agriculture production. The Layu Valley, another area. We're talking about the heights of Salisbury, areas around Marigot, where agriculture dominated in a way that people had access, and we are no longer seeing that. So we need to ensure that these access routes are reworked. The feeder roads are rebuilt, especially areas I mentioned, Cahome, Layu Valley, Salisbury Heights, areas around St. Joseph, the agricultural areas of Dominica. In the southeast, we have the Tiguanfond, Découvert, all of those areas there. We have Tayam, we have Tefem, we have Odelis, we have all of those areas around Dominica where is well suited for agriculture, but the access is not there. Access, firstly, through the feeder roads and access to the market. So that will be dealt with. Another thing that we are definitely looking at doing to ensure that agriculture is well established in Dominica is to provide some kind of incentives, to provide some kind of support to the farmers. So we are looking at what is most cost effective in terms of support for inputs, because that's usually a huge cost. For example, the government of Dominica recently announced that they were going to give land to young people. We applaud that. I think it's a good thing that we open up state crown lands to individuals who want to work, but we will not stop there. We will not stop with just saying, okay, yeah, give us $1 for the land a year. We'll ensure that the young people and the farmers who want to go into agriculture in a very serious way, they get that support. And that is something that we'll absolutely have in place because as we do our budgeting, as we do our financing of the budget, we'll be looking for monies, we'll be looking for resources to plow into agriculture because we see that that is a way out for this country, agriculture. And so ensuring that you have the markets, the road conditions, the input to the farmers, and also importantly, and something that we must do if we want to see the agriculture flourish, is to have some value added. Okay, so that we are not, I said at the beginning that we do not have the advantage of size. We have quality, top quality. Our produce and respected across the region is well known. What we are looking for is not just the production, but the value added. So how can we, for example, incorporate 3, 4, 5 factories that can focus on doing different things. So, for example, we have our cassava. We can do cassava flour. We can do pasta products. We can can our juices. We can can our different fruits. We can pickle cucumbers. There's so much that we can do with respect to adding value, so that we don't just sell what we have overseas, but add value to it. So we see this as a multi-billion, multi-million dollar process that will put monies into the pockets of the Dominican public. We put monies into the hands of the people, into the hands of the young people, quite frankly, because as we begin to add value, young people now will be able to operate in other areas. Young people now will be able to offer their services, to do advertising campaigns, to do marketing campaigns, to be creative in setting up websites that people have access. So all of those things, they'll be working within the factories, they'll be doing advertising. So there's so many other areas and other job opportunities that will be added onto that will become a holistic industry in Dominica, and will certainly lead the way in providing jobs and opportunities for our people.
Yes, and we love the way that you have stated this thing. I like the process and what is involved, because, I remember the days when we used to trade as a company, banner company, the rest of the Rhode Island. We had access to the European market, particularly the UK market. And then we had the imposition of tariffs, and we had the imposition of the quota system. That sort of was like a constraint for producers in the Caribbean as well. But also, too, there was also protection for these producers, small producers in the Caribbean, because you had what they call the ACP countries that was protected. That they were protected, the African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. They were protected based on some, protection that they got, which means that even if we had not met productivity level to compete with the most favored nations, like those in South America and Central America, but at least we had some preferential treatment. But over the years, we have not been able to address the productivity issues. And that is why probably now we still experience shortfalls with supplies, because the point is our farmers have not been able to be competitive, or have not been able to be productive. And that's why we have to move in this direction, because yes, the infrastructure is important. And as you rightly said, it's not just about giving land and $1 a year. You must be able to provide the necessary infrastructure. You must have what they call bridge financing. And you must try in some ways to incentivize the sector with respect to how you go about trying to make sure that you supply the necessary needs of the farmers. Because take, for instance, although we are the ACP countries, one country that was really outstanding with respect to its performance, although it was under protection, was the Ivory Coast. The Ivory Coast was actually producing between 25 and 40 tons per acre, notwithstanding this country had preferential treatment. So the point is, they understood what was competition, they understood what it is or what it was to be competitive, and they were doing their best, and they could have sustained. As you rightly noted, we are not highly mechanized like all the other countries. Obviously not. Our terrain, in fact, our topography doesn't allow us to be somewhat highly mechanized, but in some respects, we could use some small farm implements to improve on our farm operations. For instance, instead of digging holes manually, we could dig holes with post hole diggers. We could use tillers in some areas, because we still have relatively areas that are relatively flat and we can move. We have to now move into a more data-driven agriculture. And Doc, you see what happened in the rainfall. If we were taking actually data, precipitation data, and observe over the years the trends that were being exhibited, probably would have had an idea of the change in time. But because we lost all of these things, it appears that we are really we are boxed in a corner, and we are just doing things by figure. I say we, but it's not really we. This government is really there for 25 years and wasting time. So I'm happy that you're thrust about trying to put the emphasis on actually incentivizing the sector and to ensure the necessary agencies, they work like a producer organization responsible for services, technical services. You must have a technical committee, which will, of course, will guide this agriculture moving forward, and the necessary technicians. So when you have all that holistically, then we are able now to have a comprehensive agricultural plan moving forward to sustain the production and to sustain the necessary supplies. And you made a point. Young people may not feel themselves very inclined to go forward to say, well, look, I have an interest in agriculture, But there's a role for them. What about if we have production? They would have been trained to go out and collect data with their little gadget, and they're able to be participate in digital agriculture with respect to collecting the data and having a forecasting period where people can expect that the volume or the production it is scheduled over a period of time. And so once that information is available, then we are able to tell the market for sure with certainty that, look, during this period, we'll have X, Y, Z. And that's how we have to go planning as to how we go about distributing in the market. So today, the reason why you are struggling, not even go, and I want to commend you and the United Workers' Party. Ryan, big up to you and the work that you do. Bernie Ryan, with Dr. Fontaine. You have studied that before and you continue it. The United Workers' Party is very much part of it. We are not in government, but we are happy, we are doing things to ensure that we actually set the standard required to move forward. And so you must be complimented for your effort. But you are right. Agriculture should be developed in a holistic manner, not in a piecemeal manner. And so we are really constrained by a number of things because this government is just about, I give land at dollar. You get 300 acres of land. You get $300 a year. That is not that's nothing to talk about. Where are we going with this? You talk about ensuring that farmers, the existing farmers, move from the 5 tons per acre to the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 tons per acre and above, so that they can be sustainable. Because as we speak, the war around the world, Doc, remember that Iran-Iraq war? The closure of the Gulf of the Strait of Hormuz is really a big problem. 25% of the world's oil production is passing. And that is impacting, of course, on us. Because remember, the petrochemical products, like the fertilizers, they are part of the whole thing. Fertilizer prices must go up because it's a petrochemically produced commodity that has to have oil in the production of it. And so we have to learn of this impact. Even the pharmaceutical industry, they are going to face that kind of thing. So I'm happy the way that you have stated it and outlined it. And it appears to me that once we've done that, then we are able to achieve a larger amount of our export target. So I really want to commend you on that. But we're going to shift gears though, Doc, a little bit about the confirmation because that is very important. And I know that the party has actually made recommendations to the electoral commission, and the party has actually made it known with other entities. By the way, the Dominica Business Forum, the Electoral Reform Coalition, the Freedom Party, and the other parties, the UPP, and many other concerned citizens and groups and organizations have put forward recommendations as to how we should actually put this motion of expediting the whole process of confirmation. As we said, we are not going to cry over spilled milk. We have had our disagreements with what took place, and would have loved to see in the act better things, but band by band. Doc, where are we with this, and what is happening right now?
The confirmation process, quite frankly, has led to a lot of frustration. It has not been well executed in the sense that there was a lot of disarray, a lot of confusion with the removal of the birth certificate and then its reintroduction. And even with the reintroduction of the birth certificate, even after you have a photo ID and a birth certificate, you still have to seek out a justice of the peace. So there's still a cost being imposed on the people because you need an affidavit of identity. Imagine, you have 2 people saying, yes, that is Thomson Fontaine, but that's not enough. I still have to show a letter from a justice of the peace saying that, yes, this is Thomson Fontaine. So, and when all of that is done, the electoral office then says that they have to process all of those applications because you can't just confirm on your own. You apply for confirmation, and then the electoral office, after you have brought in justice of the peace, after you have brought in 2 individuals who know you and vouch that, yes, this is the person, after you have provided a picture of your face to them, the electoral office still spends countless hours going over all of that before they can say, yes, this is Thomson Fontaine, and here is your ID card. So the whole process reeks of inefficiency. It's not going according to plan, quite frankly. And you heard, for example, the Prime Minister talking about bringing in persons from the region and the OAS to help the electoral office. So that to me is a confirmation that the confirmation process is not going according to plan. If you're now talking about bringing in people, and especially when you consider that of the over 16,000 or so persons who have applied for confirmation, just a little over 6,000 have actually been assigned, and not one person have received a voter ID card. So that tells you that the process is just not as efficient. A lot of concerns as well. Persons who registered confirmed all the way back or applied all the way back in October when it started. It's now 7 months later, and their names are not on the roll. The names are not on the list. In my village, where we have been tracking persons, especially persons who support us, where, for example, in Glenroy, we have probably 450 persons that support us. Only 24 total, 24 in all, has now appearing on the voters list, when we know that a substantial number more persons have in fact applied for confirmation. So the process, quite frankly, is not going well. Lots of hiccups, and it is very concerning. And one of the biggest concerns that I have, and I continue to talk about, is whether we'll get to a point, if we go as far as October, whether we'll get to the point where when October ends, that we'll have the list that reflects the total number of persons who are confirmed. And the answer, quite simply, is that if we go at the same pace, it will not happen. Because 7 months later, after 7 months, we have only been able to represent about a third of the persons on the list. So it means that with 5 more months to go in the process, if the additional 14, probably 20,000 people at most, I would expect, because the number should be around 45 or so thousand people. If 20,000 additional persons in the next 5 months, so you have 20,000 plus 10,000, that is 30,000 people. Let's assume 40,000 people applies for confirmation in the next 5 months. If you could only process 6,000 in 7 months, then there's no way you're going to be able to process 24,000 or 30,000 in 5 months. And so that is one of the major concerns that we have, and recently you're hearing a prime minister who, even faced with all of these uncertainties, who faced with these real practical problems, has been saying that he's not prepared to give an undertaking to the Dominican public that he'll allow the process to go through before calling an election, notwithstanding that elections are not due until March of 2028. We're talking about 2 straight years still for elections constitutionally to be due. Yet he will not give that undertaking. So these are serious concerns that we have, and it's something that we continue to monitor. And then also, it would have been good for us, even now after 7 months, to get a clear sense as to who are the people within our constituencies have in fact confirmed, so that we can go after the rest. Whilst it's true we are keeping tabs, it is possible that some persons would have gone on their own, right, without us knowing, right? So we do not know these people, but we don't know if they are confirmed or not. Now, if we go after all of these individuals, then that's time wasted, because we're going to spend that time with individuals who have not gone through the process. So there's a lot that's desired in that process, and it's quite frankly, it's not going well. It's not.
Yes, and it's very interesting. Let me tell you something. I have looked at this thing. Something is going on. You tell me, prior to the Electoral Commission making the adjustment with respect to the software system that they say they had, that was allowing them to do selective sort of picking of names. And for this reason, that is why their number of persons were not falling in line, because the system was designed to actually take random of those who have applied for confirmation. So just randomly selecting people and for that other system. But don't you find it is interesting that if a random system, that the Vekas constituency was able to achieve so much more than every other person? Just look at the list of the number of persons who have been confirmed in Vekas. You saw it yourself?
Yeah, I saw it. It's
So
just
how then a random sample would have allowed the Vegas constituency to almost complete its confirmation as opposed to others. Another thing, Doc, I'm getting serious with this thing because this is not a joke. It is sold. I mean, I've done the research, and it is saying that the justices of peace, they are appointed by the president under the Magistrates Code of Procedure Act, which means that applications are submitted through the Ministry of National Security, and then they get approval. So, which means that the government knows, and all of the justices of peace, they are registered in the government system. The ethical, I don't see why this electoral commission should continue to tell us that they are mobilizing more resources to be more efficient, but yet they are not using the right resources. I'm telling you why. There are persons who want to get confirmed, as you said, who do not have the necessary ID, either the passport or the social security or the license, but have to resort to now the photo ID with an affidavit of identity and then the birth certificate. And you are telling me some people are still asking who is the justice of peace in their respective constituencies. They do not even know their justice of peace in their villages. And I cannot understand how the electoral commission, although operating independent, but it's part of the government machinery as well. How could the electoral commission not have a list of those justice of peace in the post-op in the various constituencies of villages, so that people can be aware that who are these people and that these people should be there to facilitate those who need an affidavit of identity. I mean, at least they are paid a stipend, you know. They are paid. They are not doing it for free, and the government pays. I mean, really, what kind of system do we have? But, Doc, we have to continue to do what we have to do, and we're asking those who have the requisite means to get confirmed, and we'll get them to confirm where applicable. But there's a person who takes something. Let's take some of the messages. It's very important that we do so now. One person saying there, I'm not a fan of looking for market. You will exhaust too much resources to get this shelf, to get it on the shelf. I'm about distributors. Get known that the way instead, and when we are exposed significantly, then and only then we will promote a premium product line that will control ourselves. It's called smart marketing. Well, I want to agree with this person, and obviously the person merely talking about intermediaries, distributors. That is true, and that's what we have the way to go. But on the bigger part of it, I think we have to have a marketing arm that can liaise with the various intermediaries, so that what the person is talking there can go forward. Doc, your reaction to that?
Yes, indeed. So I tend to agree as well. You know, when I said we will do it, I mean we'll set up the enabling environment, and of course the suggestion is that you use individuals in the private sector to do that. They can be more effective. There are lots of areas where the private sector will complement government efforts, but you have to make it possible, so to speak. You know, so yeah, the access to the markets, whatever mechanism works well, whatever mechanism is cheaper and more efficient, we'll certainly seek after. So I have no quarrels with that suggestion at all.
Yes, so we have Mr. Peter Carbon, Honorable Peter Carbon. You always say we can call his name because he's a participant. He has been on the program. He has been advocating agriculture. In fact, he still continues to work with the Department of Agriculture in Florida. And he's still very much significant and resourceful for the country. Here he's saying we need to seek the assistance of the international community to monitor the electoral system in Dominica. Yes, Doc, you'll agree with this.
Yes, because I to be quite honest, my trust levels are extremely low when it comes to that, given the level of manipulations that we've seen in the past, the kind of shenanigans, the kind of, you know, everything that has happened is like, it's almost as if this government was trying to get some kind of advantage out of that process, and that should not be. You know, the Electoral Commission is far from independent. It's supposed to be an independent commission. So we have very little faith in the Electoral Commission as it is, given the way it is set up, given everything that has transpired. So, yeah, if you can get some eyes, international eyes, looking there at what is going on, that will certainly give us a little bit more confidence in the process.
Yes, and somebody saying there, not 2027, last election was in 2022. Let me tell you person straight. Yes, it's true, 2022. Remember, it was December 6, 2022. So 5 years later would be December 6, 2027. But the law allows for 90 days. So obviously it will take us right to March 2028.
But more specifically, just think of it this way, the 5 years. The 5 years is from the date of the first sitting of Parliament.
Oh, yes,
It happened in February. So you're also correct, because it allows for the first sitting of Parliament to take place within 90 days.
That's correct.
So we can't go beyond the 90-day period to have the first sitting of Parliament. But the way you count the 5 years is from the date. So, for example, if elections were in December and Parliament met in January, then the 5 years would be January of the 5 years after that.
Right.
The 5th January after that. That would be the time, and not December. In this case, after 2022, the first Parliament took place in February, very late February of 2023.
So that is when it is counted. Yeah. So right. Okay, good. So yes, but it still comes back to the point of the 90 days, and so we get.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, good. So very good. Somebody saying there again. Let me see. I'll highlight this one and I'll read it. The Method Electoral Commission confirms the sentiments of James and Shillingford that the commission was not in a state of readiness to begin the registration/confirmation process. That we'll agree with, certainly. And everybody else is saying, well, good evening, good program. And I don't know, somebody saying they sent a message awaiting a response. I don't know what that would mean, but I don't think we have seen any message prior to that. So, Doc, yes, that's where we are. And let me tell you, it is very disturbing when you have, an electoral system. Yeah? It is something dear to our heart. It is the fundamental pillar of our democracy. And when this is being undermined, then you trust nothing else. I mean, how could an electoral commission could be so in a state of disarray, in a state of disorientation, doesn't know where it's going? And now you are telling me, since after the law was passed in March of 2025, 7 months later, you then started the confirmation process, which means that you had a 7-month period to put all your house in order. So it means now you are throwing most of that time when the period was started for confirmation to start doing your preparatory work. That is robbing the people of its time. And so that is just a part of undermining the democratic principles. You remember, you can have what they call pre-election rigging, on the day of election rigging, and post-election rigging. We understand how elections have been rigged, and we know the different categories of rigging. But we want to we would like to trust our electoral commission. And we are asking of them, while it is true that you're making an effort to mobilize the necessary resources to get the work done, but you must be also proactive. You cannot tell me in today's age, you know best how you can get the list of the justice of peace, and you cannot post that in the various constituencies where people can know I could go to my justice office and get it done, even free of charge, because that's a service they do to the community.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned free of charge, because I'm told it's not verified, but somebody reported to me in one of the constituencies that they were being charged, and the people that were being charged, depending on which party they think that you were supporting.
Oh, so my God.
If you party, go to Justice of the Peace, he does it for you free, or she does it for you free of charge. If you're from another party, then they tag on a fee. So these are some of the things that we have to be, certainly we are investigating, we are making sure that this is not the case, and we are hoping that this service would be given free of charge. We also compliment the move to have both certificates be gratis, but I'm understanding that there may have been some issues at the registry, in the sense that I'm not sure that has been rectified as of today. But initially, there were some issues with the printing of the birth certificate. So hopefully that has been sorted out.
Yes, and so we really have to get this thing going. And we want to just say that, we cannot be frustrated with our electoral system. When you're starting to undermine the fundamental principles of democracy, whereby, we lack trust in our electoral process, in our electoral system, it is really not good. Anywhere in the world that you go, once the electoral process or the electoral institution is being compromised, I think, it's a no-no. And Dominica seems to be heading in this direction. Too much political interference. Because I can understand, and it's something else, that the Electoral Commission is in charge of something. And then, by the way, I going back to the point your Honorable Delbert Paris and you yourself before, you all made the request for the birth certificate. But the Prime Minister have it boasting that somebody in Parliament talk about the birth certificate and the information was not reached to the Electoral Commission, So you see why he hijacked the whole thing? You make it a pronouncement. All you have to do is a responsible thing. The Parliament adopted it. You just write a letter to the Commission saying, look, Parliament has already moved that, we get the certificate free and charge. You're making a big hoopla as though it's somebody you want to compliment on this, making a thing out of it. You are interfering, sir, and playing as if it's you that are taking the lead. It's not you. It's a recommendation by the Parliament, the highest court of the land, I always call it, and you have to respect that, and all due processes have to go to the Electoral Commission. So there is no praise for you, Mr. Prime Minister. Stop doing that. You have a country to run, and you have the people to take care of. Stop playing foolish, silly politics. So, Doc, we are actually winding on the clock.
You talked about the people to take care of. So, and one of the things that I think as a party we have been really promoting and encouraging our caretakers and our candidates to do a lot of is to just interact, just be on the ground with people, talk to them, see what their needs are, get a sense of them as to what they want to see from us as a government, to have those kinds of conversations. And I must say a big thank you to all of the caretakers and to the various candidates who have been engaged in that type of outreach, because I think at the end of the day, success comes with that kind of determined effort to talk to people, to reach out to them, to introduce yourself to them, let them know who you are, and you finding out who they are as well. So I'm on a quest, so even within my own constituency, to know every single person that lives in the constituency, to at least have a conversation at least once with that individual. And it's not a big constituency. You're talking about less than 1,000 people. So it's something that is quite doable, in the sense that and probably for the first time in a very long time, we'll be having people voting in an election in Dominica that actually lives in the country. So that's probably a good thing. That is a good thing. It's not probably, it is a good thing. And so just the ability to reach out to individuals and then to talk to them, see where they are, is something that I place a very high value upon, because at the end of the day, you need to be responsive to the people. I keep telling individuals that a government, and in particular where you have a prime minister, that this government should be going to bed every night thinking of how they can improve the lives of the people of the country. And how we improve people's lives is to understand the pressures, the grinds that they're going through, and to see how those can be addressed. And that, I believe, is at the heart of a good government, one that cares about the people, one that listens to the people, and one that does everything possible to take care of the people. And that is not asking too much. I think that is what I believe. And that is how, when this whole institutional government was set up, that was the whole idea. It was never about, a people or manipulating the system that you get the most votes. And then when you are in office, you disregard the concerns, you disregard the pleas, you disregard the cries of the people. It was never about selecting one group of persons over the other. It was never about jobs for the boys. It was always about the government looking after the interests of the people. So if there is a school that the school is needed in constituency B, that's where the school should be. It should not be, well, you constituency B does not support me, so I'm not going to put the school in there. That should not be. And I think in a way we've gone out, we've moved away from those ideals, and that is something that as a party we are seeking to bring back. A government that is in tune with the people, that listens to the people, and above all does good for the people. And that has disappeared, because we have a government, quite frankly, that has not been working in the best interest of the people. We have a welfare system that needs to be revamped, a welfare system that says the number one qualification is if you support us. And the first question that they ask of you is not what is your need, but whom do you support? I mean, that should not be, especially talking about the use of the resources of the state.
That's madness.
That welfare system. It should not be. And so, we long for that period when we go back to a country that was built on meritocracy, that is what determines. I mean, if, for example, when I don't know for you, but for me, when I got a scholarship from the government of Dominica, my family was not supporting that government,
You see?
But then the question was not who you supported, right? The question was, do you have a particular skill? Do you have a particular talent that we can reward you so that you can contribute to your country? And that is what it should be at the very basic level, right? It should not be first who, and that is, and I should just say as well, that is something that I believe that we need to reintroduce into the whole talk, into the whole conversation around nation building, is that it has to be persons who are willing to work, and the criteria for that should not be whom you support necessarily, but whether or not you're prepared to give all for your country. And I think that is how we should really deal with that issue. And the best way to do that is to know who is there, to find out about these individuals, and then to commit to doing the best. And it's those conversations that we're having that day in, day out reminds us that we need to focus on agriculture. So that's how we started. We like talking about agriculture. And some persons who are listening tonight may have seen a post I did with the eggplants, literally hundreds of eggplants dumped because there is no market for it. But I'm told that that's the number one fruit, one of the number one foods in Antigua. It's not very big in Dominica, but I understand it's an excellent. And I learned from just reading the comments all of the different things that can be done with it. It can be fried, it can be loose, using lasagna, it can, all of those different things I was hearing for the very first time. I have eaten eggplant in the past, but probably 2 or 3 times, certainly not more than that. But I understand now that's the really critical thing. But so we have all of those things here in this country without the outlets for it. So is when you go around and you begin to talk to people, you begin to understand those dynamics, and then you begin to formulate policy and plans that can then address those issues. And that, I think, is probably the greatest thing that we can get out. And I think by now, Dominicans should know that our politics is not one of méprisé. We do not have a méprisé politics. We don't pull people down. Persons who offer themselves for public office, hopefully they do so out of a genuine desire to bring change to people's lives, and we hope that is what it is. But it's not my place to be constantly, giving mépris. That's not what we're about. I think our stance and what we have adopted as a party going forward is to focus on the realities of life in Dominica, focus on the high cost of living, focus on the economy, focus on those things, and make a pledge to the Dominican public that will put forward 10 pillars that will lead to shared prosperity, that will put monies into the pockets of the people. These are the kind of things that we're talking about, and that's the way that we are moving. So you will not get mépris from this side. We will keep to the issues. We will keep focus on the things that concern Dominicans and how we can better improve the lives of people. Because at the end of the day, I firmly believe that when people go to the box to make an X, that at the back of the mind, they're hoping that they can elect a government that can work in the best interest. And that is what we want to honor.
Yeah, that's unfortunately for me, I wasn't bright as you, so I didn't get a scholarship. I had to work hard to finance my education. But thank God I was able to have the energy to do so. And by the Spirit of God and hard work. But yeah, somebody's saying there, I'm listening from Maryland, and the same person is saying to, for the people, by the people, with the people. However, someone is saying again, in my opinion, I think doing both will be paramount. I mean, talking about in terms of the market, whether in finding sustainable markets and using distributors to penetrate them efficiently. I think that's a great point. And you have someone saying there, the PM needs to graduate to the moral ground to allow the confirmation process to proceed within the ambit of the law prior to an election being called, to demonstrate his genuinity if he has any remaining in him. And someone is stating here, though, as well, have serious private sector investment and sectoral support connection with international businesses doing this for DA. No charge. No charge, and the person is saying, look, here is my email. Doc, I hope, and let me take this information. We cannot be getting expertise at our disposal now and not actually taking it. The person should come on our program, and I hope you, the caller, you, the texter, you are listening. I think we are going to invite you in to learn more of your expertise and to see how we can actually get into the mode of connecting with, various sectors to support our drive in international business. Okay, so we're taking this down, and I hope by let me invite you next Monday now.
Why not?
I know. We'll have a talk. Thank you, Natural. Yeah.
But we really appreciate the feedback. I think it adds a lot to the discussion when people feedback, they listen, and they actually take the time off to go on the internet and send a note, make a comment. We truly appreciate that. We want to encourage you to keep it coming. That will certainly help us as we plan forward.
Yes, and somebody else is saying, I used to make a wickedly delicious eggplant dish. My grandmother taught me well. You see again, agriculture. Right, that is that somebody's just spotted us there. It's sad in Dominica, non-stop campaign goes on, and no time for focusing on people development. Doc, we have to stick there a while. This is something that is a great comment there, because it appears to me that election never stops, or electioning never stops for this government. From elections, when the dust is settled, from day after they are sworn in, it's campaign. That is why the country is not going anywhere, because they are not really focused on the real development issues that will cause us to move from point A to point B. Your take on that, though? That's your strength.
No, yeah, that is very, I wish we could move out of that cycle that, we have an election to begin with. So one of the ways that I think that we can address that really is to have fixed dates for elections. And that is something that we're looking at very closely. I believe that is something that if we introduce, you have a fixed date for the election, then you have a campaign period leading up to that election. And then once the election takes place, you go back to work. That business of this constant, trying to catch people with their pants down, and this government in office know when the election date is, so they get all the paraphernalia, they get all of the thing, they put the house in order, and then they call a snap so that they can catch you. I mean, that should not, those kind of trickery and should not really be part of our. In this day and age, in the 20th century, the year 2026, that should not be part and parcel of our process. We need to fix this, and I mean, the one way you fix this is to have a fixed election date, and you have a set time for campaigning. Campaigning is done, it is over with. But that business of a year, month in, week out, because what happens and people should know that, right? That you don't have a limitless time, that you always, practically everything that you do, you have some constraints within which you have to work. So if you devote a lot of time to one thing, it means you devote a lot less time to the other thing, which may be as equally important. But having to focus on this almost daily ritual of campaign and canvassing and so on is not helping anyone. To begin, it heightens the level of distrust, it heightens the level of division in the country, and it's not productive. It clearly is not. We want to see people working together after an election is called. Whatever government wins, the election is free, it is fair, it is credible. Whichever government wins, everybody works with that government. Then you go your separate ways when you come for election. That is how it should be. And that is what we want to see happen in this country going forward. And it's something that as a party in government, we'll work very hard towards to restore. One, restore trust in government, but secondly, remove this endless campaign season. It does not work. It does not help.
Yes, and just to support your point and the person's point there, is Christmas Day, see what they have hijacked. Christmas tree lighting. That is something that's supposed to have been done by the corporate entities in Dominica. Father's Day, youth feast time, when a village feast, instead of the traditional, the people go to mass and they present their gifts, in respect to what church they go. They bring up their gifts, ask God's blessings for it and their farms and their families. The government has hijacked that river block. Village council manipulation, football leagues, sports day, everything has been turned into a political circus. And that really cannot take us anywhere. And let me just say finally too, that this government must come clean to the people of Dominica. Because I see they're boasting about October and June, they're going to have something at this stadium. No wonder, that is to put on the lights in the stadium, Doc. They want to put on the lights in the stadium. But let me tell Dominicans about what is happening with that light in the stadium. That light in the stadium, this stadium, when it was constructed, there were lights before that. I don't know if they had functioned for a long time, but I don't think it lasted. And again, hurricane came and it messed it up. Okay, fair enough. This government approved after that, they gave some of their contract for $2.1 million to put on 6 poles. 6 poles has always been the amount of poles they wanted to put in there. Something go west, money is unaccounted for, the contractor did not finish the project. Subsequent to that, we heard about an approval of $14.6 million to do 6 poles again. We didn't move. The goalpost did not shift. 6 poles. While the project is going on, we are hearing some semantics going on with respect to a change in the scope of the project. And now we are hearing about 4 poles are going to be erected. But there were 6 poles targeted for initial in the scope of work. Right? So which means that the parliament approved $13.6 million for 6 poles. Now the government is putting 4 poles and they're not telling us about where is the extra money. It doesn't give an account for the extra money. And so we really cannot tolerate this thing using the parliament to approve, to use its power, its privilege. But by the way, as prescribed by the Constitution, parliament has the power to do so. But it must be fair with the people of Dominica. If the parliament approved such amount of money, how then we now move from 6 to 4 and we have not gone back to the parliament to say, okay, not 6 again, it's 4 we have. Stop using the parliament for your dirty work. And now you want to go now in a stadium and have a session to show the light. To show light of what? We missed the Cricket World Cup. Dominica doesn't have nothing like a track and field, a sport event. When last we hosted a Caribbean event there, a Caribbean Games or something like that. I mean, come on. You're joking. Just to come put on a light? Well, we're waiting to see the light. I hope it shines the whole of Roseau because we need light.
We need light.
We need light to see those that set in the fire. So I hope it's that light you bring into over. So I shut up with you all. Only talking nonsense about light. We need the light now to see who's burning on Roseau. Doc, we have reached the end of our program. Let me say thank you very much, and you have been doing a wonderful job. So with that, let us put on. We just put on the curtains on it, and your final word, your departing word. No?
Well, just to say again, a big thank you to everyone that joined us tonight. Thanks again for the comments and the suggestions and the feedback and the engagement on our program. Look for us. We'll be in a community near you this week as we seek to interact, to talk to know, to find out, just to let you know who we are as a party. And we're really appealing for your support because we believe that we have a better plan for this country. We believe that we have a better team that will work diligently towards making the changes that we need in this country. We continue to prioritize the agriculture sector as a means to take care of 70% of our population. And we are fairly confident that we can turn this economy around, that we can improve on the cost of living situation, we can generate the jobs and the activity that is required. And as time goes on, we'll be giving you one more of our 10 pillars. We focus tonight on agriculture. We'll have a different focus next week. But at the end of the day, it's about bringing information to you. It's about enlightening you. It's about ensuring that, you get the information directly from us. And so we thank you. Tell somebody about us, and keep joining us, keep joining us as we continue to really discuss issues that matter to you where you are. Good night, Dominica.
Yes, thanks. But let me just be good to just read the last question. I'm coming there, I think coming from Martin Edwards. Good evening, everyone. The useless government will do as much as possible of what people tolerate. They will do as much as the people tolerate. And I think that is a fact. People sometimes should be blamed for their. I mean, we have to have resilience, but we can't be too over resilient. Yes, thank you again, Doc. Have a good night. And for all those who participated, we'll say God's blessing upon you. Until next time, we say this has been Real Talk. Until next time, we say God's blessing to you. Have a good night.